this as people bring their pet dogs into a store and claim that they're service dogs. I know I have. I bet most of you didn't know that by doing this, they're breaking California state law, Penal Code 365.7, which is punishable by a $1,000 fine or even jail time. Service dogs, emotional support animals, and therapy dogs all have an important job to do, and each task is valuable. However, the growing issue of fake service dogs is making a huge negative impact on the lives of many. After extensive research and 3 years raising guide dog puppies, I have both firsthand experience and a thorough understanding of this issue. Service dogs, emotional support animals, and therapy dogs are commonly confused by the public. I'm going to discuss what each of these animals does, what laws exist for them, and why it is so important that we all know and understand the differences. According to the ADA, or American Disabilities Act, a service dog is defined as an animal that has been individually trained to do work or perform tasks for an individual with a disability. The task performed by the dog must directly relate to that person's disability. For example, someone with epilepsy may have a service dog that is trained to detect the onset of a seizure and help keep them safe during that seizure, whether that be go find someone and let them know what's happening, or they even crawl under the person's head to keep them from slamming it into the hard ground. Or someone that is visually impaired may have a guide dog. Service dogs are protected under both the federal and the state law. Section 36.302C1 of the 1991 Title III regulation requires that generally a public accommodation shall modify policies, practices, and procedures to permit the use of a service animal by an individual with a disability. If the dog's service isn't evident, an establishment can ask 2 questions. 1, is the dog a service animal required because of a disability? And 2, what work or task has the dog been trained to perform? All of these laws apply directly to service dogs in particular and do not apply to emotional support or therapy animals. Emotional support animals, or shortened to ESAs, they provide companionship and support for their individual owner. However, they are not trained to do work or tasks, therefore they don't qualify as service animals. That means they cannot go into public places like service animals can. To be considered an ESA, one should have a note from a doctor stating the need for it. Simply buying a vest and ID card online does not make them official or grant them public access. Under the Fair Housing Amendments Act of 1988, emotional support animals are viewed as a reasonable accommodation to housing communities that have no pet policies. So say an apartment complex said no pets are allowed, emotional support animals would still be welcome. The Air Carrier Access Act also permits ESAs to fly on planes. However, many airlines are reviewing this policy right now because of its constant abuse. Some of you may have heard of the incidents involving the emotional support Peacock and United Airlines. According to CNBC News, the animal did not meet the guidelines for a number of reasons, including both weight and size, which was explained to the customer on 3 separate occasions before she had even arrived to the airport with her Peacock, and eventually she was denied from bringing it onto the plane. As you can see in these images here, this is a duck on an airplane, and this is a pig, and they are both considered emotional support animals. And as you can see, cases like this are becoming more and more prevalent, which is why the airlines are reviewing this policy right now. While ESAs and therapy animals both provide comfort, they are very different, especially in the eyes of the law. A therapy dog provides therapeutic contact to individuals, usually in a clinical setting, and it improves their physical, emotional, social, and cognitive functioning. Therapy dogs should be certified under one of the many therapy animal organizations, such as Pet Partners, and they have no public access, meaning anywhere that a pet can go, they can go, but they have no other access that a pet doesn't. An example of therapy dogs are the dogs Cal Poly brings to Kennedy Library every so often, so people can go pet them and help relieve stress from finals or tests. Despite both therapy and support animals providing comfort, they are vastly different from service dogs. So why is it so important that we all know and understand the differences? Fake service dogs create a bad name for real service dogs, cause major sanitary issues. As you can see in this middle image, this is a fake service dog eating off a table at a restaurant. But most importantly, they cause major safety issues. Countless times, my puppies in training and I have been barked at and harassed by fake service dogs like these 2 here, And it creates a horrible name for real service dogs because people think that's what a dog can behave like in public, but also it is extremely distracting to both the dogs that I am training, but to working service dogs trying to do that task for their individual owner. Republican State Representative Kimberly Ferguson made a statement that today any pet owner can go online and buy a vest for a dog to bring it into public places. As you can see here, anyone can go on Amazon and buy a fake service dog vest, but that does not give the dog public access, and it is breaking California law. You can't just buy a vest online and bring your pet anywhere. They have to be a service dog. USA Today reports a case where a woman and her service dog Earl were in an elevator in a public accommodation place. Another woman walked into that same elevator with her service dog in her purse. As the elevator doors closed, the purse dog saw Earl on the floor, jumped out of the bag, and began to attack him, leaving him bleeding on the elevator floor, both him and his handler traumatized. The woman instantly claimed that the purse dog was a service dog, only later admitting that she made this false claim to simply get her dog into the store. Another example of the dangers fake service dogs create occurred this past year. A woman decided to bring her pet into a store that it was not allowed into. Myself and my service dog in training, Vamos, were in that same establishment. When her dog saw Vamos, it completely, had no reason to do this. It lunged at him and began to attack him. It latched onto his face, and I had to pry its jaws off of him, leaving my hands cut up, and he now has a permanent scar across his cheek. It was a dangerous and terrifying experience for both myself and my dog. We both luckily escaped with just minor injuries, although this is not the case for many others. Over and over again, I see people disregard this law with no care or understanding of the larger problems that it creates. Service dogs have an important life-saving task to do, and with increasing cases of fake service dogs, it is becoming very difficult for them to do that job. Even if you personally are not contributing to this problem, you can help and be a part of the solution. Thank you.